So, Professor, I've read reports of archaeological sites here in Sri Lanka being violated, and how do these archaeological sites relate to the Dhamma?
You know, if you look at the many more archaeological sites that we have become aware of,
Yes.
right? And they do carry certain inscriptions that relates to Buddha era,
Wow.
right? And if now go to Lumbini in Digana Kandy or
The
in
Bambaragala.
Bambaragala temple,
Yes.
right? And it's called today, I believe, Vavegama temple. And there you see inscriptions about Indasala cave. And this is a cave where Buddha resided in his 6th year was season, right? After became Samma Sambuddha,
6 years
he
after
stayed
enlightenment.
6 years after enlightenment. He stayed there for the rainy season, right? And that is here in Helabima, not in India.
Yeah.
But we were told that Buddha visited Sri Lanka. Buddha visited Lanka only 3 times, right? There's an utter confusion about what is Lanka and what is Jambudvipa and what is Bharata or India, right? And for that reason, there are a lot of archaeological sites really where that have received the touch of the Buddha. For example, Ritigala, that means, you know, in near Habarana, it's basically it's Jeta Vanaramaya, as much as I am aware, because according to some of the suttas in the Tripitaka, right, and it is very clear that that must be Jetavanaramaya, because Jeta is the name of the trees
The
in that
Na
area,
tree, right?
the Na tree, which is called the ironwood and which is the national symbol of this country,
Of Sri Lanka.
right?
And
Now, if you go to that area from Habarana to Kalaweva, all the jungles and forested areas are full of Na trees.
Wow.
And that is why Jeta Grove,
Jeta
Na Jeta Vana Aramaya. It's a Aramaya in the Jeta Grove, Aramaya in the Na
the
Vanaya,
monastery in the Na forest.
Na
Wow,
forest.
Wow, wow.
So, I mean, the word itself lends support for this argument. And if you go to Ritigala, you will see whole granite foundations. All the places where the Buddha stayed and elucidated Dhamma, they are still, the foundations are still intact.
Granite ruins.
That means all the archaeological sites are full of granite buildings, right? And they were not made out of brick or any kind of mud huts
And this
or
was
anything.
the ancient Hela, ancient technology in Sri Lanka, in Helabima,
Yes, because
molding granite.
yes, actually, according to what I heard from our Arahatun Wahanse, there was a tribe called Palalua or some by some name here in Kegol area, and they lived until very recently, right here in Helabima, and they were masters of granite technology. They knew how to melt granite and, you know, make these blocks and buildings and all these statues and everything, right? So it's a huge technology that we had here, and that is why actually the British took some of these Ola leaf scripts, because the technology is written in those books. And they wanted to extract that knowledge.
They were amazed by what they saw
By
here
what they
in Sri
saw.
Lanka, and they took the books.
Right. And so by anyway, so you know, so because of that, throughout Siuhelaya, there are a lot of ruins that were touched by the Buddha or Buddha Sparsha.
Buddha places.
The places where Buddha stayed, or whether he elucidated Dhamma, or whether he went and took lunch or anything like that, right? And now people go and destroy these places without knowing how important for these things, for Buddha Dhamma, as well as for our own historic, you know, value.
People are ignorant of the fact of these facts about these hallowed places. These places are hallowed ground, yet out of ignorance, they don't know, so they just take it for
They
granted.
destroy. You know, I have been to one place in the eastern province, and they have taken some of these, you know, granite ruins. They've broken down, and they're using it as a what you call it, sinhala mirisgala.
Yeah, the
right?
kitchen utensil.
You know, in the kitchen, as a kitchen utensil to make a paste of chili. You know, and even in some other house in the eastern province, I have seen that people are using them as a liggala. That means to put the pot on top and fire, right? Because that is how ignorant people are in this country currently. That is because no one was there to teach them the right history. Our history, according to the books that we, that even
Contemporary history.
when I went to school, I was taught that our nation starts from Vijaya. I didn't buy into that then, and I don't buy into that now, right? But what happened before Vijaya? How did all these ruins are much older than Vijaya? Go to
Exactly.
Sigiriya. Sigiriya is now, they have labeled Sigiriya as about 10 years ago, or maybe 20 years ago, as much as I can recall, 5th century Kashyapa era. And now they have changed these labels and say they're called pre-Kashyapa era. That means there were people before in this land of ours, right? In this Hela Bima. Hela Bima was 4 states. Jambudvipa, Uttarkurudvipa, Apragoyane, Purva Videha. And Jambudvipa was the land where the Buddha or the Prince Siddhartha was born. And you got to read into the text of what was written by Robert Knox. He was a Sri Lankan prisoner, and the British, when they captured Sri Lanka, or when they conquered Sri Lanka in full, the upcountry, then only he was given freedom. And when he went back to England, he wrote a book about his experience, and he showed Suddhodana Emperor ruled from Kandy and written Candy, Kandy, right? And Siddhartha Kumancha and Yasodhara got into an arranged marriage or something to that effect. It's there.
And he was talking about the Buddha's life story, an event in the Buddha's life. He was saying that it happened here in Sri Lanka.
Here in Hela Bima.
In Hela Bima.
In Hela Bima, not in Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka, the name Sri Lanka
Sri Lanka is a modern contemporary name for Hela Bima.
A contemporary name that was started with the Constitution of 1972.
Hela Bima is more historical.
Hela Bima was the name, and Sinhala or Sinhala or Sivhala was the name. Hela Bima or Sivhala. Sivhala became Sinhala. Sinhala became Ceylon. And that's the transformation of the word as I find it, right? Maybe there are other explanations, I don't know. But anyways, so these archaeological ruins, what we see right across this country, they are very valuable, because now, see, the Buddha statues were brought into Sri Lanka about 700 years after the Buddha Parinirvana from India.
There are innovation.
During the time of the Buddha, India was a colony of the Persian Empire, and also from colonized by great Alexander.
Alexander
the king, the emperor, great Alexander. So that was the time of the Buddha, when he was living. The current Indian territory was a colony. And there are historical facts in Persian history and in European history. So there are all kinds of facts. If one wants to draw these facts,
Either, and since that is the case, either should have mentioned the other. I mean, we should have mention of Alexander in the Tripitaka if that's the case.
No, there's no mention in the Tripitaka. If the Buddha had been living in India,
it should have been mentioned. If the Buddha was in India, there should have been mentioned that this Macedonian Greek king
right, came to this country and got invaded or something like that in the Tripitaka. Because there are another 2 suttas. What is Atanata Sutta and Mahasamya Sutta? That is Hela Bima history. If you read it very carefully, the Magadhi phrases word by word, and decipher the meaning, that is purely the history of this country.
These two sutras are referring to, if you read between the lines, if you read closely, these sutras are referring to not to India but to Hela Bima.
But to Hela Bima history, Hela history, right? And they are, and it is called, so about, they are talking in that sutta, Atanata Sutta. Atanata is a city in Mahavilachya today, so around that area near Anuradhapura.
The name Atanata still exists today?
No, not they don't exist now, but they existed at the time of the Chattaro Maharaja. Chattaro Maharaja are being considered as divinity, as Hatharavaram Devivaru in current context by people in this country, right? But they are Chattaro Maharaja, the same names like Hatharavaram Devivaru, right? Vaisravana, Dasarata, Virudaba, Virupaksha. Those are the 4 Satharavaram Devi names. They are the same kings as Chattaro Maharaja stated in the Atthanatta Sutra, and they were contemporaries of the Buddha. So they went from Lankapura or Alankarapura to Rajagahanuwara to convey an agreement. Atthanatta Sutra is an agreement to safeguard the Buddha Shravaka from being hurt by the Yaksha Gotrika or the Yaksha tribe, because there was some Hela people who were belonging to the Yaksha Gotra.
Yaksha tribe.
Yaksha tribe. And they didn't follow 5 precepts or anything, so they didn't like to listen to Buddha Dhamma.
They were in opposition to the Dhamma.
Yeah, but because
to an extent.
I think it's due to ignorance, right? And so these Yakka, some Yakka people, not all the Yakka people, there were Yakka people who became Sotapatti and beyond.
But there were some who could have done some harm.
And even according to one monk who wrote the book about the Buddhist, the Buddha Dhamma and the Yaksha tribe, says that the mother of Kuweni, the princess, I believe her mother's name was, if I'm not wrong, Agnipali or something. Agnipali was an Arahant, Therinin, right? That is Kuweni's mother, right? And this is found through the research of Venerable, I think, I can't remember the name, but he wrote a book on all these things, right? The Buddha Dhamma and the Yaksha tribe. Because the Yaksha tribe, all Yakshas were not bad. They were Buddhists,
wow,
right?
That's interesting.
And so, but some Yakka people, they didn't like Buddhism because they didn't want to follow these 5 precepts or anything.
So they could have caused some harm.
They caused some disturbances, and in order to protect these Buddha Shravakas from these disturbances, they agreed to this agreement, and it's a pact pretty much. So. This Chattaro Maharaja visited the Buddha in one night with their Sena, with their armed troops and everybody, to be introduced to the Buddha, so that the Buddha and the Arya Shravakas know who they are. Not that they went to do some harm or anything to anybody. So that when they were present, these 4 Chattaro Maharaja, they introduced their support, people in the different ranks to the Buddha, and said these are the people who will be supporting the Buddha Shravakas in these border areas, right?
And this is recorded in the Atthanatta Sutra.
All what I'm talking is recorded, documented in the Atthanatta Sutra.
And this sutra is in the Tripitaka for everyone to see.
Everyone to see and read and understand, right? It is not about chasing devils of any sort. That's I don't know from where people got that.
That's the contemporary belief. You chant the Atthanatta Sutra to chase away demons from the house or something like that.
Yakka is not demons, and they are ancestors.
They are humans.
They are human ancestors
who were given
of
that
ours.
Name. They were human ancestors given that name. They are not some mythological demon
No,
people.
never were there any demons, right? And because why I'm saying this is, even today in rural Sinhala, you have this terminology we call Palaya Yako Yanda. That is yaka, right? Or else you say he works like a yaka, right? Make a yakek wage wada karana. So those are still the rural phrases that we use in the villages. So then yaka cannot be demons. There's no possibility of any such thing.
And this mistranslation, this misunderstanding is definitely because of mistranslation and ignorance over the centuries.
I believe this happened during the Dhammadeni period, or even Polonnaru period maybe, because we were very, very good and strong in literature and poetry.
Sanskritized.
Yeah, with Sanskrit invasions all the way down there. But then when people are unable to fathom or understand the reality, then they create something to make people understand. And that is how the Yaksha tribe became demons.
They used the literary figures became the literary figures
became mythical figures.
Became mythical figures. And that was taken literally.
Literally.
No pun intended, but it's taken literally.
It's called Padaparama. In Magadhi, it's called Padaparama, right? And
word
that means
word
by word, surface meaning only. And they have no intellect to go in depth and understand what does it say truly. And that is the very reason why in Kandyan era, right, when the Kandyan or Senkadagala kingdom came into being existence, and all the temples built around that time have this yakka with these white, canine teeth
the
and
hooks
everything,
and the
right?
very mythological and
Yeah.
fearful representation
Right.
of this tribe.
But the Yakka tribe is our own ancestry.
They're
Yaksha,
humans.
Deva, Naga. Naga is not these,
Snake
the
people.
creeping reptiles.
Yes.
And they are our ancestors. They were people.
They're human
They were
beings.
people. King Muchalinda was depicted as a cobra
In
who is with his hood, right? And the Buddha sitting
contemporary-
under in all these sculptures. And that's insanity, I would say.
I mean, in the contemporary depictions, you will see that the Buddha was covered by this snake, and there's a big hood over him. So it's entirely it's mythological.
Imagine the Buddha, right? And when he was at Bodh Gaya,
Yes.
right, in Habarana, where the river flows very, very closely to the Bodhiya, right, about maybe 200 meters or even less than that, and then there was a flood. So the king Muchalinda, he was the Naga king who ruled that area. He made probably within a matter of days, or maybe 1 or 2 days, right? As a monk told me, his seat, the Vajrasana, for him to sit, was created within 3 hours, right?
To protect the Buddha from the waters and
that was that kuti he built to protect him from the flood waters, right? And all those rocky
ruins.
Ruins and artifacts are still there for one to see. It is not a cobra who came and protected him. It's impossible. It was the Naga king Muchalinda, because his name appears in Atanata Sutta, and there are 40 names appearing in the Atanata Sutta, and they are all Alavaka, Satagira, Hemavata, right? And all these people are from the area, and that's a fact.
And all of these, all can see them for yourself.
Now anyone who has an open mind can come and read these things and fathom and understand really what is truth, right? And it is, I think, it's worthy of recommendation, right? To come to Mirgama and take a look and then make their own decision, come to their own conclusions, rather than going by hearsay without knowing a single true fact, right? I mean, so any decision must be fact-based, as the Buddha said. That is, hetupala dahamata bahagalapa, naiviniyata sasanda bala, karaniya dharma karandat, akarniya dharma nokarandat, right? And that's a statement that, and I think it's easy for me to say that in sinhala rather than in English, because karaniya, akarniya needs a whole definition, right?
It's difficult to translate.
Yeah, because word-to-word translations don't work. It's only the essence and the meaning can be translated. Even in the books that I translated on behalf of this Venerable Mivanapanani Sri Dhammalankara Mahaprajnan Vahanse, right? And I translated books. And this is not a direct word-to-word translation. And I always attempted to provide Magadi Artha Dhammanirthu Patsambhida in consultation with him, right? And then I was able to break down some of the Magadi phrases and words and decipher the meaning, and I translated those meanings as well. So if anyone reads these books, so they will be able to see how these Magadi words are built and how they can be deciphered and how they can be configured out and obtain the true meaning and the truth about the Buddha Dhamma. Yeah.
So after hearing all this, it's finally time to remove the blinds from our eyes and gaze upon the truth.
Beyond illusion to reality.